Hello everyone. It's a
Hi.
beautiful sunny day here in London, and I'm sitting down with the gorgeous Emma. You can talk, honey, don't you worry. Emma and I met a few weeks back at a beautiful ballroom slash conference slash tech event that my fiance and Emma's husband, right? You are married, aren't you?
We are not actually,
Oh,
no.
you're not married. Oh
Children.
well, Emma's
Yeah.
boyfriend. That sounds so flirtatious. Emma's boyfriend and my
My
fiance.
life partner.
We're both, attending, and your partner was giving a gorgeous speech, and I think mine did a little talk at some. Anyway, doesn't matter. Emma and I connected, and she was one of these amazing women that sat across the table from me, and I was instantly drawn to her magnetic energy. And although I didn't guess immediately what you do for a living, I did say it was something tactile. It was something with hands. I could really sense that, and I think I suggested you might be a hairdresser because you have this really cool hairstyle, and you're wearing this
I'd like
beautiful
to.
outfit on the day, and but it turns out something. Not that hairdressing isn't exciting, but it turns out that you have created this amazing company called SHE.I.Y. Is that right?
Correct,
So
yes.
instead of DIY, it's SHE.I.Y. So what I remember is you've created this amazing female-driven, female-owned, you being the owner and the creator, and female-run company. So it's a whole group of women that do all those DIY things that we all wish we could do. And normally we sit there and go like, "Oh, darling, can you do it for me?" But then you girls rock up instead. So Emma, thank you so much for coming here. And I know that you were in such a rush, so I really, really appreciate you come. I know you come straight from work. You've got gorgeous paint on your t-shirt. I'm loving it. Yes, it's like she's the real deal. So welcome, Emma. Emma, tell us a little bit about your background. Where are you from?
So I'm originally from Essex, a good old Essex girl, full of spirit. But yeah, I now live in Southeast London and have done for the last 17 years.
Oh, wow, amazing. And tell us, so let's go back in history a little bit. So before you decided to set up SHE.I.Y, which I'm just wowed about, wherever you're at in your life, let's go back, let's say like a year or 6 months before you finally was like, fuck this, I have to do this other thing. What was
Yeah.
going on in life?
So I was working in homelessness, had done for the last 15 years, really enjoyed it, but it was incredibly difficult and more so with all the changes in legislation that you weren't actually able to help people anymore. Um, I'd been wanting to be a decorator, DIY-ist, for 20 years, and I'd set the company up in 2007. So it was always there. But I found this other career and I really enjoyed it. I became a mum, so it just fell to the wayside. And yeah, I think it was COVID really that, everybody had those epiphanies like, what am I doing with my life? This whole unprecedented thing happened and made everybody
Yes.
question what they were doing. And that was the catalyst for me. It's like, right, I'm getting older. Is this what I want for my life? I think it gave me good pause for thought. So yeah, I was one of those people who had the post-COVID career change.
Oh my God, I absolutely love that. And you know what? This is so wise. It's always, I mean, sorry for getting a bit morbid here, but it's always that thing, when someone dies, I always say, we all kind of like get a second chance at life because,
Yeah.
we all of a sudden death is that one step closer to oneself, right? And so
Yes.
it's always that thing of like what the dead can teach us about living,
Yes, exactly.
right? And I can
Your
and
own
I
mortality, isn't it? And your own, what am I doing? Am I wasting my time? What time have I got left?
Right.
Yeah.
And I also think it's so beautiful, this thing of, I'm actually so happy that you yourself have reflected so deeply on this question because often, I interview people, just like you that set up great businesses and all of that. And then when I ask them the same question, when was that pivotal moment? Quite often people they don't really know it, they can't quite pinpoint it, or it's kind of a recent thing. And the fact that you're like, this had been in the making, it had been in the cauldron for 20 years. I mean, and you know what, it really resonates with my own heart as well, because I was just thinking, about my own life today, and I was sort of reflecting, going, there's lots of things that actually, similar to you, has been sort of simmering below the surface for so many years. Even just buying my first flat, and yes, of course, I needed the money, and that took time. But also, more than anything, it was really my self-confidence. I did not know how it worked. And I really felt like this, pretty blonde girl that, kind of like, okay, she's great at the arts, but she doesn't have a clue about, how sort of the materialistic world works, and so it was mainly that talk in my own head I had to get over. So similar to you, like buying that first flat, it took me 20 years, even though I had actually gathered the capital for it probably like 10 years ago. And so I can really, that resonated so strongly with me when you were like, it had been in the making for 20 years.
I think as women, we perhaps feel like we need permission. I don't know if that was the same for you, but certainly my career, doing a male-dominated job, I was waiting for someone to give me permission. I didn't grow up in as a woman where you could just go, yeah, I want to do that. Always had to, people laughed at me when I was younger. Oh, funny, Emma wants to do a man's job. It was always a source of not, not full-scale ridicule, but definitely ridicule. Because I was I wasn't even allowed to take the tech subject at school because I would have been the only girl. So they didn't say you can't, they just said you shouldn't. It was called CDT when I think it's DT now,
Yeah.
but I was really good at it. Wood making, soldering, all of those things. And when it came to GCSEs, they went, I mean, you can't take that. You'll be the only girl. That would be really difficult. What does that look like? Take home ec, go and
Oh
do
my
some.
God.
Yeah, this absolutely happened to me. I was a child of the 80s, a teenager of the 90s. It just wasn't a thing.
Oh my God. Okay, so I really want listeners. So we're getting some real education here, my loves. If you are, so I'm 39, and yes, I was not brought up in England, but still I have never ever heard about this. I obviously I knew that this is what took place earlier on in history, but already like still in the 80s this was going on.
Yeah,
Talk to us,
I
talk
went to
to
school in
us.
the early 90s and I was told, and even my parents knew what I was like, but they would well, they didn't try and encourage me because, oh, Emma, you're so funny, wanting to hang out with the boys. Um, so I think I would have done this much sooner had I have grown up 20 years later because the permission was already there, whereas it wasn't. And I wasn't a trailblazer. I wanted people to I wanted the thumbs up. I wanted people to say it was okay. And I definitely did not grow up in an environment where that was a thing.
Wow. Oh my God. So tell us a little bit about that. So what kind of environment did you grow up in, Emma?
We were I was classed as a ladette, geezer bird, because I could do things the boys could do, a ball breaker. It was yeah. So I had a boyfriend who bought me power tools for Christmas and said, please do not tell my friends. Emma, I know you'll want this, and I'm really like happy to buy it for you, but please do not tell my friends. And this was when I was in my early 20s. So I was maybe 21, 22, and he bought me a drill, which I was so pleased about because that was the kind of girl that I was. And I did all the stuff around the flat that we lived in. But he was like, please don't tell my friends. They will laugh at me.
Oh my God.
So,
Wow.
yeah, it was an anomaly because I wanted to do the things that boys did, but it was always, I don't think people were mean about it, but it was a source of humor.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh wow. Well, I mean, I'm just sitting here like, and I know that, like you said, it was done sort of in tongue in cheek kind of way, but like I'm sitting here feeling really sad. Like I'm so sorry that that was your experience, because it's like, I listen, I know you didn't have we're not going into like, oh my God, childhood was terrible. That's not the story,
Yeah.
but it's still like when you so obviously had a desire and a talent and a passion for something, and then the fact that school told you you couldn't be like that, and personal relationships were like,
Yeah,
okay,
family
we'll try and make some creative solutions here, but to not be able to actually just stand in your truth and be like, hey, this is who I am, and I am the girl like who's got the power tools and who can fix your house, like, which I'm sitting here like, I invited you on the podcast because I was like, oh my God, how awesome is that, right?
yeah. But it still surprises me how it's still perceived as something modern when it shouldn't be. So basically, women have been doing all of these men's jobs like decorating and doing in their own homes, but never for a career or for money.
Wow.
I've met lots of women much older than me, oh, always decorated their own home,
Yeah.
always put shelves up and did all, but always just for themselves.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I had friends who always used to ask me, Emma, can you come round and do something? But it was always this little thing on the side.
Yeah, yeah.
a professional career.
Yeah, yeah.
Been on jobs even recently where there've been builders and things on site, and they all come and have a look because there's a lady here, you know. And I see these little heads pop round, like, you know, there's a woman in the building. And I've met other tradie ladies, and although it's accepted, more accepted, it's not fully. I've lots of stories about electricians and plumbers have turned up on building sites. There's not even toilet facilities or changing facilities for them.
Mm.
So they turn up ready to work, and then suddenly someone's like, "Oh, quick, quick, we better give you this little broom cupboard so you can get changed."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's better, but it's still not as good as it should be. And this is 2025.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Wow. Okay. Well, listen, it's such a juicy episode today, everyone. So I just want to, I'm going to fast forward you again, Emma. So, okay. So then COVID happened and COVID happens and you're sitting there going, okay, it's now or not now. It's now or never, right? So then what steps do you take? Talk us through the process. And
Gosh,
also, I want to ask one more thing. So, what
yes.
steps do you take, and what voice in your head do you finally just kind of turn around and look at that voice and go, "You're no longer in charge here." Do you know what I mean? Like, what was the story that kept sort of like that kept you small, that kept you in the shadow, that kept you like, "Oh yeah, it is who I am," but actually, I'm just going to push that aside and get.
I guess it was the permission thing. I wanted
Wow,
someone to say, yes, you can do it.
wow, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
And I think I haven't had that, even though I know I was good at it. And I think I was waiting to be more professional or better. And having now done it, I've realized I was good enough
Yes.
long time ago.
Oh my
And
God.
actually, my quality of work was, well, infinitely better than even some people that have been doing it for 20 or 30 years. I
Wow.
was waiting for somebody to say, "Oh, wow, you're really good at this." And
Mm,
I had to tell myself. Um, but really, I had to just start doing it. And sad to say, it was Simon, my partner, who went, "Emma, come on, go for it." And he was my champion and my cheerleader that actually just was that permission that I needed, I think. Sorry to say that I
yeah.
think I do it all on my own steam. But the minute I started walking the walk, it was so easy.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Someone
Emma,
knocked
I'm
the door,
so
I went
proud of you.
for it. That makes sense.
No, it makes complete sense. And you know what? Something just really rang home for me. And I am just going to actually share this with listeners because, again, this podcast is always about concepts that we can all relate to. So, yes, I brought you on here because I was like, oh my God, she has amazing energy and she has this awesome story. But it's these moments of reflection that we really need to get into and juice out because these are the moments, that moment where you were like, when you realized, holy shit, fuck, I've been waiting my whole life for someone else to, and I really loved how you solidified that. So you used the word give me permission, but then as a subtitle, a subheading, you said someone to tell me I was good enough at this. And for me, because when you first said the permission thing, I was like, yeah, I can relate. But then when you said the words, someone to tell me I was good enough. And then you followed on with, and actually, once I started doing it, I realized that I had been good enough for like years and years and years. And in fact, I was better than a lot of people that had been doing it for 20 years, etc. That rings, I can't even tell you how much I'm getting goosebumps here because this has been my own story so often. I, just like you, grew up in this very sort of like, society where, and also I got good at a lot of things and what I pursued, I was really good at. So I got used to what you were just sharing, like what you call, I needed someone else's permission to continue down a specific route. But actually the story in my head was always, I needed someone to say, you got this, you're good enough, like, well done, Josie, keep going. And you're so right, because in the endeavors in my life where I haven't had that, if I haven't had that person going, you are really good at this, keep going, then yes, lots of times I would just have backed off because I would have thought, oh no, I'm probably, like you said, it's almost like that green light. If we just
Imposter
related to, yeah,
syndrome.
that's it,
Yeah.
totally. And it's like a green light. It's like you're sitting in your car waiting for a green light, only to
Yes.
realize it was green all along. You're like, when is the light gonna change? I'm just
Yeah.
sitting here waiting from the red to go to yellow
And I
right?
think that's something specifically women especially struggle with. I know that it happens on both sexes, but I think in general, most women that I've met, the imposter syndrome is much stronger.
No, but you're so right, and it's also because we are most women, we are brought up in this whole good girl society, and whereas it's so normal for like boys, they fall over, it's rough, they're loud, if they get told off, and then it's okay, and like whereas we kind of sit here, and it's also like we grow up with Disney movies, and the princess is pretty, and she looks pretty, and whoo hoo hoo, right, and she earns, life becomes good because she's just oozes this beauty and this grace, right? Well, actually, I want to ask you quickly, in terms of Disney, do you have a favorite? Who did you relate to as a kid? I'll tell you mine. Mine was Pocahontas, so the most
Yeah.
untypical.
Yeah, it's the ones actually in later life that I watched with my daughter. So Mulan,
Oh, yes.
all of these younger ones. But yeah, Pocahontas was the one of the time, but she still wasn't strong enough for me.
Ooh.
So I didn't really like any of the Disney princesses until sort of later life. So Mulan, I think, is definitely
Ah,
full of grit and tough
yes.
and just
Oh,
persists, but has to pose as a boy to do so.
I
You know,
know.
themes there.
Right. Oh my God. No, absolutely. Wow. Okay. Well, we're gonna fast forward. Okay. So you finally was like, actually, I am good enough, and fuck this. I'm not gonna sit and wait for that green light for someone else to give me a green light. I'm gonna be the green light. Run. So then, what did you do? What was sort of like one of the first practical steps that you took in order to sort of, did you sit down and brainstorm? Did you invite people over? What did you do?
Yes, so I wrote a business plan. What's it going to look like? How am I going to charge? How much money am I going to make? I had to write a business plan. So what does it look like? How will my day be? So I spent a little time doing that. It was interesting because actually Simon said I did it really quickly because I think I'd already been thinking it in my head.
Yeah.
So when we sat down together, he was like, "You had everything already in here. We just needed to get it on paper. There wasn't much, oh, let me think about that or look for that." I'm like, "Yes, this,
Yeah.
yes."
Oh my God, it's like you'd been living a parallel life in your head.
Yeah. Yeah, my dream world was finally coming out onto paper. So it was actually quite a simple process. Then I just obviously need to get some savings together and work out the financial aspect, how was I going to live? Because I assumed it would take me quite a long time to build up to earning the right amount of money.
Yeah.
But strangely, it actually didn't take that long. It was like I announced to the world, I'm a big believer in the universe. And when you're ready,
Yay!
which is why we connected, because, we're big believers in, I manifested and I basically put out on the parents' WhatsApp group for my daughter's school, "Hi, this is my company. I'm about to start decorating. Does anyone know? Please share my details." And then these inquiries just started to come through and I just started working. And there hasn't been a week that I haven't had any work since I started 3.5 years ago.
Oh my God, Emma, that's insanely amazing. I'm so happy for you.
I know it
And
doesn't always happen like that. So I don't want to say to people, just do it. But I actually do think if you're ready and you make the right plans, just go for it.
yeah, no, absolutely. Like there definitely is this whole thing of like, leap and the universe will catch you. And then
Yeah.
of course there's also the practicalities, obviously if you don't want to stop your day job if you have absolutely no savings. Of course there's some practicalities that needs to be
Yes.
covered.
And
And
you
all,
want to be
right.
a thrower of glitter at a festival. That's not a really good business plan.
No.
But I think if you've got a valid idea and you have some savings, that's my front door. But hopefully my daughter's going to get it. Sorry
No,
about that.
don't worry, I couldn't hear a thing, so you're good. I just saw a really big smile and I just smiled back at you. So it's all good. Oh my God, I am so happy to hear this. This is so beautiful. And I think there's something really juicy here as well for listeners as well. So you know how we started out talking about how you had actually had this plan, this dream, this new chapter of your life had been in the making for the past 20 years. And I think this is a really important story because Emma, your story is not one of doom and gloom and like, oh my God, you lived this one life, but you wanted the other thing. Actually, you did enjoy and really love what you were doing with the homeless thing and all of that. And this was something that, yes, you started in 2007, a long time ago. And then there's that thing of the journey of becoming. So talking of Mulan, right? So I don't remember the ins and outs of the story, but the point is, in a story, something excites us, something motivates us, and then there's a challenge, right? And the challenge takes as long as the challenge need to take until the main character, i.e. the heroine of Mulan, has developed or even just recognized the qualities that were already within her, right? So everything, everything matures, ripes at the perfect time and the perfect rate. And I think we live in a society that really emphasizes rush, and that, quicker is more and better. And actually, that's not always the case. And actually, quite often it's not the case, right? So for listeners out there, if you have a dream and you're kind of beating yourself up because you're like, oh, if I only had more confidence, I would do it now.
Yeah.
Maybe yes and maybe no. And actually, maybe the timing, like you are not ripe enough, and maybe the world isn't ready yet. Because, timing, there's a timing to everything, not just who you are, but also the responding and corresponding world that surrounds you.
Yes, yeah, I think that's absolutely true. I do have regret for not doing it sooner, but I wouldn't be the person I am now without the life experience that I've had. So, yeah.
Oh, I absolutely love that. Amazing. And it's just so beautiful to hear that it's been 3.5 years and there has been a week where you weren't getting inquiries and work. And oh, I'm so excited. And also, that I bought my first flat 2 years ago. And you also know that I'm already sitting here going like, oh my God, I need to get you girls to come in. Like, I love that flat so much. Actually, not that much needs doing, but I would actually just really love to have your input and just have you go, oh, have you thought about this and have you thought about that? Just because actually, just to pour your love into it. Like that's what I love. Actually, do you want to tell us about what do you love, like, about this new chapter of your life?
I love being my own boss. I've worked for somebody for all of my adult working life, which is an unexplained amount of time. I said 25 years. And yeah, being my own boss, it's been the most amazing thing. I was frightened of it. I have an accountant and they do obviously a lot of the practical work, but just knowing that I am responsible. I don't get paid sick, I don't get paid holidays, and yet I haven't missed any of those things. I love deciding what I'm going to do. I get to choose. I don't have a boss looming over me going me me me. Um, I get to decide. I get to decide how long my day is, how I choose to use my energy. It's been, yeah, an absolutely beautiful thing.
No, I really, really get that. So I think I mentioned this to you. I have never worked for anyone, so I've always been self-employed. But what I will say is, there has been twice in my life, no, actually 3 times, oh, 3 times, 3 times where I committed to, there was like a musical that I was in for 3 months, and I was like, oh my, like, so for me, 3 months is such a long commitment. I'm literally the most freedom-loving person you will ever meet, Emma. And freedom meaning I need to be in charge of me on all levels. In even the thought, even if someone was coming in and being like, Josie, I'm going to pay you 50,000 a day, but then you need to be at my disposal, sort of, 10 hours a day.
You think about it.
No, I wouldn't be able to say. I know for a fact, and I know it sounds crazy. A lot of listeners be like, Josie, you'll be making so much money, just get the money and then move on. I could not do it because Emma, the 3 times in my life that I did. So first I did that musical. And honestly, into the second week of rehearsals, I remember coming home because it was in Copenhagen, where I'm from. And I told my mom, I was lying with my legs up against the wall and I was like, I can't do this. And my mom was like, you have another like 3 months left of this. And I was like, I know. And then there was another time where I committed to work full time for a fashion company, and I did all this modeling for them. And I was like, oh my God, I cannot do this. And I lasted 2 months. And then there was another time when like a yoga company was like, oh, the yoga goddess. They were like, come to us and we will give you all this money and blah, blah, blah. But you have to be exclusive to us. You mustn't be teaching for anyone else. You mustn't do coaching. You mustn't, basically we need to own you. And I was like, okay, I think I'm going to die doing this. But again, at that point in my life, I was thinking maybe it will be good for me to have some kind of stability. Like maybe I need to ground a little bit. And I used to travel all the time. So I was like, let's try this. And honestly, after 4 weeks, that was my maximum. I think I left them after 4 weeks, Emma. I couldn't do it. So but again, the strength the strength in life is knowing who you are, and getting really comfortable with who you are, getting comfortable with your strength. So one of my greatest strengths is my incredible freedom and my incredible desire to do things my way. Of course, it also goes the other way. At times, it's also my greatest weakness because it's challenging for me to. I can commit. If I commit 100%, but I only commit to people and projects that I'm deeply passionate about. Because if I'm not, I can't do anything half-heartedly. So
I'm envious of you because I that's exactly what I was thinking, the strength in yourself to know yourself. And I think I've always had a lot of self-doubt, so not allowed myself to be who I truly am. So I think it's a wonderful quality that you have.
oh, thank you so much, Emma. Trust me, I've had have enough self-doubt to like last a lifetime. But I think, but you know what's really interesting? So it's like even with the self-doubt, like there's been aspects of myself or projects or directions that I wanted to try out, but where I was doubting myself. But when it came to something again, when I knew what was deeply in my heart, I knew I was really good at that. So even if I got worried or like anxious, or like I do a lot of talks for big companies, and of course I'll be like, oh, do I remember it all? What if I don't remember it all? Like whatever thoughts can go through your head, right? But I know I'm really good at it. So when I notice the fear, I'm like, oh, that's just excitement. I can handle that. I can channel that into power and fire. Whereas there's been other times where I've sort of really stepped out of my comfort zone, and trust me, like sometimes the voice in my head, that thing of like, oh, the permission thing, the are you good enough at this? That's been really, really hard for me. Really, really. Like at the moment, I'm supposed to go up and do my driving test because I have never ever wanted to drive. I've never, anyway, but I've done 36 hours now, right? And
Yay.
which on one hand is like, yay, because I'm like, oh my God, I can actually drive a car. But what is so wild is my teacher was like, Josie, why don't you just do the test? Like he told me like 14 hours ago, he was like, just do the test. He was like, what do you think is going to happen? Like, like it's going to be exactly what we are doing. Like, you don't need to do this anymore. But that is a part in my life where I absolutely do not feel that I'm confident enough yet at all. Um, so,
But I think you're absolutely fine and probably still better than many drivers.
thank you so much, darling. Thank you. But just to sort of like cross over and be like, trust me, there are so often in life where I'm like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
But as long as when it's around my passions, and it's around, so my passions is always something I've studied for many, many years. So I'm like, even if I'm freaking out like with my ego being like, are you sure about this? My heart is so strong, so my heart is like, yes, we got this. But when it's about those other things, yeah, there's absolutely lots and lots of doubts. So yeah, I get
Yeah,
that.
well, I think what I did last week is probably very evident of that.
And that is what I was about to jump into. So, Emma, tell us about this. So, just before the podcast this afternoon, you shared with me something that actually left me speechless, and that takes a lot, as we all know. So, Emma, tell us, what did you do? Not last night, but what did you do last week?
Last week. So I guess this whole thing about starting my business, and I'm ticking off, I'm going to be 50 in a few years, which is quite scary. And I think I found myself. So now
Oh,
these things that I want to do, I'm like, I have to do them all now because I've wanted to do them for 20 or 30 years and I'm running out of time physically, maybe not mentally, but so a lifelong dream that I have. I even wrote to Jim will fix it when I was a child. Thank goodness I didn't get to do that. But I really wanted to. So this is how long? So it's probably 13 years old. I think I saw it on a television program and said to my parents, I want to do this. They were like, absolutely not. But anyway, again, Simon, my champion and cheerleader, he heard me talk about it and bless bought it for my birthday. So I went to do a parachuting course and I'm now a fully qualified solo parachutist. I think that's what it's called. It's called AFF and it's the fast track skydiving. And we went to Spain and I basically jumped out of an airplane by myself, and now have a license.
I I mean, okay, so like So we're gonna have to go back in time. So okay, so Simon bought this for you. So tell us. So this was your birthday. You're opening the presents. What goes through your head? What's the first thing? So you're opening that card or whatever it is, or like an email. I don't know what it is. What goes through your head?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, well, I screamed. I was like, oh my gosh. I was super excited. And I don't think I questioned how scary it was until I was on the airplane. So I was like, yay, yay, I'm going to do this thing. And then I got to the hangar and was in the class because you do a day of classroom. And I was like, what am I doing? It wasn't until I was there that I actually really realized what I was about to do. I was just super excited because, again, it was something I dreamed about. And
I'm
yeah,
I'm so inspired by you because like when you said it, the first thing I thought was like, well done you, and then the second thought was like, thank God it's not me because I'm literally like I would be like like listen, I've had the opportunity, like no one's come and been like, hey Josie, do you want to do this? But even just paragliding, I remember I was in Kathmandu once and I'd made a friend there, and as a present to him, because his family had basically taken me in and was like, stay with us for free for several weeks, and I wanted to give them something and they didn't want anything, and in the end I was like, do you want paragliding? So I bought their son this lovely paragliding experience, and he was like, Josie, don't you want to come with me? And in Nepal it costs nothing, and I literally was like, absolutely not. Like I that's something I'm scared about. And I tried to explain it to him. I was like, Michelle, my desire to paraglide is like this, and this is like sort of 10%. And then the rest is just fear. Fear, 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 fear. So the fear is so much greater than my desire. So this is a very easy calculation. The answer is no. But tell us, so you're okay, so you weren't scared at all, you were excited, and then now you're standing at that in that rehearsal, sorry, not rehearsal,
yeah, it
the
was like
training.
a hangar. It was full of aeroplanes and all these professional parachutists. I mean, there's this whole community of people who just turn up and pay for a ticket and then jump on an aeroplane and jump out. It's insane. I was wide-eyed like a child.
It's like you and I, instead of going for a coffee, it's like, hey, fancy a jump today, and they probably call it that. Do they just call it a jump? Is that what they call it?
Yes, yeah, yeah. Yeah, another mum there who's like, she's from Sweden and she did a tandem and then got hooked and now did her 100th jump while I was on my course.
Oh.
Um, and I was just so like inspired that this gorgeous young lady with got a family and a career and she, yeah, just for her kicks goes and jumps out of airplanes.
Oh my God, it's so wild. Okay, so then what was the story in your head? So you're in the airplane now. Like, how did you, because obviously it's excitement, but then it's also nerves. So, like, how did you calm yourself down? Or how did you even, like, did you just keep focusing on the fact that it had been your desire all along? Or what kept you
I think
going?
that was when the real doubt and fear set in when we were strapped in. We'd done all of the practice. You're not allowed to do any of the stages until you can pass.
Mm.
So you have to do the classroom and you have to, they really drill into you these specific steps and
Yeah.
then they ask you and then they put you under pressure and start shouting at you so that you can remember,
Mm.
pull this, do that under pressure. And then you have to practice hanging in a parachute in the hangar, and they push you around and again make you do all of the steps when you're under pressure because again you're in the air and you're falling. You haven't got time,
Mm-hmm.
so you have to pass all of these steps to get into the plane.
Mm.
And there's two guys with you at first of all, and they hold on to you when you jump out. But it was at that moment when we're climbing to 14,000 feet. I was like, "What are you doing? Are you completely insane? Why are you doing this?" Because the fear set in, but then I just had to remind myself that I wouldn't be allowed to do it if it was dangerous. The fatalities are so low. Walking out of your front door into the street is more dangerous, and it's really well organized. And I just had to talk to myself like, it's fine, it's fine. People do this all the time. That girl over there did it. Everyone in this plane was a beginner at one point, and I just had to, and I think that's what it was about for me, is challenging myself and to know that even though I'm at this age in my life, I can still challenge myself. And I think all of the things I've learned with older people is the ones that are young and fit and well are the ones that have continued to learn and continued to challenge themselves. The people who struggle in later life are the ones that stop. I think, again, especially for women, once they've had a family, once you get to a certain stage in life, you just stop allowing yourself to do things and to have fun and to take on learning and new challenges and be physical. So it was all about that. And so, yeah, I just had to work through the fear. And
Oh, oh my God, I'm so inspired right now. I love it so much. And I think, and again, for listeners, again, even if you like me also feel scared, and if your fear is much bigger than your desire to do a parachute, don't think you have to put you a parachute in order to like, be alive and stay alive
it's
and
not
feel
what
alive.
you can do to feel the same feeling.
Right. But what we can all relate to is, isn't it interesting? So that voice in your head that said, what are you doing here? Like, what are you doing here? Why do you think this is a good idea? That voice, right? So we can sit here and go, and we can sort of rationally go, well, actually, this is a good voice to have when you're all of a sudden going to throw yourself out of an airplane, right? But that is the exact same voice that kicks in and probably prevented you from starting your company much earlier on, right?
You from doing your driving test, same voice.
Exactly the same. And this is what I'm really interested in, because this is exactly the voice. Absolutely. Oh my God. When I sit here and I'm like, oh, but my driving test is in June, and I just hear exactly that voice. And mine is quite, I have quite a mean voice. The one is like, who the fuck do you think you are, Josie? You're really good at XYZ. This over here, that's for those other people,
That's too much.
right? And like, but isn't it interesting? Like, my voice, my inner critic, is as intense as if I was in an airplane about to jump out.
I think the same. I think the same. But what I've realized is you can, you don't have to listen to it. Your other voice can be as strong. And I
That's
think that's the thing we have to work on. It's
that.
what I've been telling my daughter. Negative voice, if you allow it, it can be a louder voice, but only if you allow it to. You can make the other voice, you positive, you can do this, your champion inner cheerleader, you can make that voice be as loud.
Oh my God, I'm swearing all day long with you in this podcast, but I fucking love you, Emma. This is so, so, so strong, and it's so powerful, and this is so, so, so incredible. Like you just said, you can make that other voice get more quiet by getting your positive, your own inner cheerleader mega, mega loud. So, I wrote a book about that. So my first book that I wrote was called, thank you, I've been in 3 books now. The first one I wrote was called The Morning Miracle. Yeah, but this is it. What's really hilarious. Like, so that, the areas of my life where I feel really comfortable and confident, I'm like, just like spitting out a book here, left, right, and center. Like, anyway, and then there's that other little thing that everyone does. And I'm like, ooh, yeah, exactly right. But anyway, yes. So that thing that you're sharing, and I'm sharing in that first book, it's exactly that. So I think I started the first chapter of that book saying, what if we get to change the story? What if we were told the wrong story? What if we've been listening to the wrong voice? What if there is an inner cheerleader inside of us as well as an inner critic? And what if one day we decided that the inner cheerleader would just take over? So I'm just
Get in everyone's brain and just talk to them about it.
100%. Oh my God, I'm just loving it so much. And to know that you did that, and exactly like you said, because this is another thing, I teach a lot of yoga still, right? And I'm very physical, just like yourself. And it's exactly that, we were born to move, and we were born to feel. We weren't born to just live inside our brain and identify solely with what we can think our way to. So the same way that, of course, it's amazing. You sat down, you had you created your business plan. So use the brain, use the mind for those strategic things. There's a place and a time for everything. But then get into your body and move your body, regardless of what your inner critic is saying. Go out there and feel alive, whether that's dancing or singing or acting or taking driving classes or jumping out of airplanes or creating beauty in people's houses, whatever brings you, whatever sets your soul on fire, right?
I think people have forgotten that. We've become, quite inward and staying indoors, especially COVID. I think people stayed indoors and felt safe. And
Right.
yeah, we have to kind of get out there and live. I think that's exactly what you've just said resonates with me. I feel like I need to just keep moving and get into this other stage of my life.
100%. Oh my God, 100%. And you're so right, because in the end of the day, it goes back to the same thing, which is, yes, okay, we can stay in, I cannot do that driving test. I cannot invest money in my company, right? And I can stay, safe and slightly invisible,
Mm.
and safe, but also safe actually isn't, it's hilarious because safe means further away from death. But actually what happens is when we keep ourselves to ourselves, we slowly die a much slower, much more painful death because
Exactly.
our soul dies. Our
100%.
passion dies. And then finally our body starts to, deteriorate because you're no longer having fun.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. When I traveled, I met a 75-year-old lady on a longboat in Malaysia in the middle of the ocean. And she said, I've spent my whole life looking after my family and my husband. He passed away. And I thought, am I going to spend the next however long I've got in my home? She was like, no, I'm going to
Okay.
do all the things. And her kids were like, what are you doing? Her adult children thought she was like, and she was there. And I thought, it. That's it. That's how you need to be. But I need to do that sooner than her because she might only have, 10, 20 years to do it. I thought you need to live like that now.
Oh, 100%. And you know what? And of course, it's always a balance because like I also, I'm also a very practical person, and I love that whole, it's also how I do coaching with people. Like I love creating like a really solid foundation, and that's also in terms of finances, etc. But at the same time, it is that thing of like, well, okay, just like a squirrel, you make sure whatever you bring home that day, you save a little bit for future happy you, but you also really enjoy the nut that you got that day, You don't
Yeah.
just save everything, i.e. always pushing happiness into the future. In the
Yeah.
future, I'll be able to do XYZ. In the future, I can enjoy XYZ. In the future, I will have permission or be allowed to explore that part of myself, right? That is such a good, I really love that. That's really good advice, Emma. And I also really love this thing that you were saying. So listen, darling, I think you look amazing. I have no idea how close or how far away you are from 50, but I'm turning 40 this year. And I definitely noticed that when you're getting to a point, and yes, age doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because, you can be a really vibrant, alive, super healthy, really fun 50, 60, 70-year-old, or you can be a really boring 20-year-old. So, in that
Yeah.
extent, age doesn't matter. But what does matter is, I think, something happens exactly like you said internally when we start to get closer to a round number, and it can be a really beautiful thing because it really like it automatically opens up for self-reflection. It automatically gets us into a space of going, is this truly how I want to live my life going forward?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that milestone definitely gives you pause for thought and hopefully makes you do some positive changes rather than, go, oh, it's all over.
Right. No, 100%. And I mean, the thing is, it's like, I feel like in every podcast I come back to the same thing, but this is an important knowledge that no one wants to talk about death, but it happens to all of us. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And so the fact that it is a mystery and the fact that it is unknown, perhaps it's also what makes it even more beautiful. And perhaps we can have even more appreciation for, and also really choose who we share ourselves with, who we pour our energy into, who we water, and what we decide isn't for us,
Yeah.
and be more
Remember
discerning.
the flower that's today, not the flower that is going to be in 2 days or a year. Yeah.
I completely agree. I have I actually, as we were talking, I've been sitting here with my oracle cards, and I sort of serendipitously, how do you say that? Serendipity?
Serendipity. Yeah, I can't even say it now.
Serendipitously, something like that. Right. I
That
drew
lovely
I
word.
drew this amazing card, and I just think it's so for you. So I'm gonna take it up to the screen. So this is an oracle deck by a gorgeous author and intuitive healer, very similar to myself. Her name is Rebecca Campbell. Absolutely love her. Check her out. Now, Rebecca Campbell, she's made this deck which is all about stones. So it's sacred stones. And the thing about stones is, and I think it's so relevant for our conversation today, because the fact, Emma, that SHE.I.Y, SHE.I.Y, that she had been, your company had been in the making, in the cauldron for such a long time. And stones, they change, but they change over a very long time. That doesn't make them lazy. It makes them slow and steady. But the changes are permanent and the changes are lasting and the changes are unbreakable. And I think it's similar to your process with sitting down with Simon that day and going, okay, I'm going to make that, this is it. And I'm going to make the business plan, and him going, you had it all along, And of course you had, because day by day you had been reflecting, digesting and progressing, even if you hadn't gone around to actually write it down yet, right? So anyway, for listeners, the gorgeous card that Emma got, it's called the Stone Goddess. And if there's anything that I want to say about you, Emma, is like you have this goddess energy. And goddess is not just about, sort of like feminine things. The goddess is the mother. She's the creator. She's the leader. Everything comes through a woman, as we all know. Whether you choose to have children or not, everything goes through the woman. Being a woman is a felt experience. It's not something that you are not someone to be conquered. You're someone to be adored, if anything, adored and listened to. So, Stone Goddess, and underneath that, it says the words are unwavering love and support. And it has everything to do with your maternal line. So all the women in your life, they are absolutely shining through and just coming up. And the card is for you here, Emma, going, all the females in your side of the family, in your mother's line, are going, hey, we're here for you, we stand by you. So I just wanted to give you this card.
Thank you.
Oh, sweetheart. Okay, my lovely, I'm just checking out on time. So Emma, where are you based, and how, obviously in the show notes, I'm going to put all of your details so people can get hold of you and see more about what you're up to and understand exactly what you do for people, etc. But whereabouts are you based, and how far from that radius do you tend to operate, just so we have a little bit of an idea?
Yeah, so Southeast London, mostly Lewisham and Southwark boroughs that we work in. But if anyone does want to reach out, I might be able to refer them, because Task Her, I should actually give a shout out. Task Her. They are a female led, and they only provide female tradespeople. So electricians, plumbers, they're now doing decorators. So basically, yeah, look on their website, and they're pan London, and they're now started to be UK based, and they've been really good advocates. They're really getting out there and sort of helping female tradies get work. So yeah, that's probably the best platform to use, because I'm just one of a number now of brilliant female tradespeople. So Task Her.
Oh, bless you. And Emma, so as I mentioned, we'll put everything in the show notes, but otherwise, where can people find you? Are you on Instagram? Do you have a website? What's the
Yes,
easiest?
I have a website and Instagram. Don't post as much as I should because I'm busy decorating. But yeah, you can get a little peek at what we do on Instagram, she.I.Y.
Amazing. Oh my God. Emma, it's been an absolute pleasure. I have one last question. I ask this in all of my podcasts. So, if you had just one, maybe two, but ideally just one soul message for humanity, what would that be?
Be kind. I think everything starts from there. I think people have forgotten to look after each other. Just be
Mm,
kind.
yeah.
I mean, I could go into, but yeah, I think it's just a simple thing. If we're all kind to each other, life would be a lot easier.
Wow. Oh, let's take a breath in together. It's so beautiful. Inhale and exhale. And also, listeners there, let's take a breath together. Let's inhale kindness. And let's exhale out the illusion of separation. And one more. Let's inhale kindness and togetherness. And exhale out any feelings of loneliness. And you can then you blink your eyes open. Emma, 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 thank you so much. This has been beyond beautiful, and I can't wait to actually dive into all your amazing work and get you over to my flat sunrise. But until then, my love, I'm going to stay on the line, but I'm saying goodbye to the listeners for now. So thank you, thank you, thank you, listeners. Have a wonderful day.